This is a Disaster Central special report. An important announcement will be coming up in the next moments. Stand by for that. Due to the rapid intensification of Hurricane Erick, Disaster Central has suspended all regular operations and programming to cover this event. Please stay tuned as coverage will be transmitted right after this announcement. In the meantime, while we wait for that coverage transition, you can check out our Twitter at x.com/disastercentral with an E on the second letter there. And or you can just scan our QR code, which will be coming out in the next few days. Till then, stand by for a special report. This is a Disaster Central special report. My name is David Vela, reporting in from our headquarters in Houston, Texas. Coming on the air with you for an important coverage on what is now Hurricane Erick, Major Hurricane Erick. As of the 7 p.m. advisory, our time, Central Daylight Time, currently has winds of 120 miles per hour, Category 3. Sustained pressure of 953 millibars, movement going towards the northwest at 9 miles per hour. The next advisory is expected to come out at 11 p.m. Central Daylight Time. As we know so far, this rapidly developing thunderstorm and hurricane is continuing to intensify and could potentially intensify even further as until it makes landfall, which will happen early morning hours of Thursday. My name is David Vela, joined into the studio by Mike, who will be our co-host and commentator for this afternoon. How are we doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing good myself. Thank you for asking. Well, let's get straight into this storm. As we already just talked about, 120 miles per hour, Category 3, major hurricane. This is the first Northern Hemisphere major hurricane to have ever developed before the Western Pacific since 1971. So this is historical in multiple regards for that. Looking at presentation on satellite, it looks quite impressive, I would say. We're just having a satellite error. Once the satellite loads in, sorry about that, Mike. Can you please continue?
Yeah, so Hurricane Eric looks to be, as of the most recent um, update on it, it has been upgraded to a 105 knot or 120 mile per hour Category 3 hurricane. And yeah, getting ready to become um, the easternmost major hurricane landfall in East Pacific history. So
Right.
Um, definitely new. The area has not gone through something like this before. Um, I hope people are prepared and are making preparations to life and property, making sure that they will either evacuate or prepare, tie down stuff, and make sure to not venture outside during landfall.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, the National Hurricane Center does say that this storm could potentially continue to intensify all the way until landfall, with their expected peak, being 125 miles per hour. But considering the fact that this discussion forecast from the National Hurricane Center was issued at 3 p.m., so this was issued about 4 hours ago, nearing 5, we could say that the peak could be higher. We can't speculate for sure if that's what will happen, but considering how fast the storm has been intensifying, this would not be out of the question. Obviously, you're looking at the map here. Cities like Puerto Escondido, Tutupec, Ontepec, Acapulco, um, Putla, uh, states like Oaxaca, Guerrero, and eventually going on into as it goes in towards inland areas, uh, states like Morelos, La Ciudad de Mexico, Mexico City, Michoacan, Colima, Puebla. Those areas could be experiencing significant storm effects from the rainfall, which is another thing that we have to talk about. The rainfall threat is huge, and as you can see by our graphics, some areas could see up to 2 feet of rain. Uh, the farther more inland you go, the more likely it is that we'll see catastrophic rainfall. Now, the National Hurricane Center does point this out. They say that they're expecting forecasts of, and let me just read it off to you, 12 to 16. Some areas could see 16 to 20 inches of rain throughout the next 2 days. Now understand that rain has already fallen in this area yesterday, as Tropical Storm Erick was beginning to gain its size, and it is quite sizable, as you can see here. And as light begins to close off on this storm on visible satellite, you'll be able to get more of a clearer picture of the system's overall look. Now, the cone is outdated. Weather-wise, we'll get that fixed at some point. Looking at here on, let's see, let's look at dust. Maybe not. Let's look at infrared. And you can see this clear eye that is just forming off there. And let's actually draw a little bit. So the eye's over here, and you can see this huge convective banding of thunderstorms that's rotating around the storm. And this is really an indicator of intensification going on within the storm. So there's still intensification. There were talks earlier this morning, or earlier this afternoon, my apologies, about a potential eyewall replacement cycle, but that's increasingly looking like it will be less likely as time continues. So getting over that, moving on further towards the coastline, cities like Santa Maria, Huatulco, and Puerto Escondido, you're already beginning to see some of the gusts and rain come through, as this pretty much heavy core of thunderstorms just keeps pushing in. And eventually what that'll look like is, as soon as this gets closer, you're pretty much on the dirty side, and you could see potentially some tornadoes in these areas, because you're getting that quadrant that does produce, generally speaking, the most amount of tornadoes. So Puerto Escondido, Santa Maria, Huatulco, these areas, and especially if you're through the national highway, National Highway 175, going towards 200, those areas, I mean, look, folks, if you haven't evacuated already, it's too late to evacuate if you are already getting hit by this. But for example, Santa Catarina, Michoacan, or Tutupec or Rio Grande, you guys still have time, because you're not necessarily getting hit by the strongest parts of the storm. In fact, if we look at satellite imagery, it doesn't look like, apart from that area we highlighted, a majority of the action is actually happening more towards the other side of Mexico, near Tabasco and Chiapas, northern Chiapas, going down towards the northwest. Thunderstorms in association with this system in Guerrero, Morelos, la ciudad, el estado de Mexico, so Mexico State, the city of Mexico, la ciudad de Mexico, sorry, Michoacan, and again these huge bursts of thunderstorms near Colima and Jalisco, and practically all these bursts of thunderstorms are related to the current hurricane towards Hurricane Erick. And you can see here, this is what I'm talking about. This is huge areas of convection, and they're all rotating. How the system is rotating, so they're all rotating in association with Erick, and Erick is still continuing to intensify. And looking at its shape again, just look at the shape. The shape looks really good for a June Eastern Pacific hurricane. So, yeah, folks. Anything else y'all want to say, Mike?
So, I'm looking at some microwave imagery of the storm, and it appears that the innermost eye wall of the storm is the northwest portion of the eye wall is still open. If that eye wall manages to completely close off, that will be a cause for concern because it may take the opportunity to continue to intensify. Um, but as of right now, it's still open, which may be what's hindering, maybe continuing to hinder further strengthening as of now. Maybe I believe it's maintaining its strength as of right now. But if that has closed, or if it will close, it will definitely continue to strengthen. And also, the exactly what you said, tropical storm, low and tropical storm force winds are already beginning to impact some areas, which includes La Cruceta, La Crucecita, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
and surrounding areas there. Um, and very soon, it's possible that 57-mile-per-hour wind gusts will make it a mid-range tropical storm wind gusts will make it on land too soon. So
Yeah, and
unfortunately, the main microwave imagery that actually lets us know, I believe it updates more frequent. It missed the center of the most recent scan missed the center of the hurricane, so it's hard to tell right now whether or not if the eye wall is completely closed off, and it's hard to tell whether or not um, if there's any potential eye wall replacement cycle that has either finished or hasn't begun yet. It's hard to tell that too. So we'll have to just wait until the next scan.
yeah, and you're looking here on presentation, and again, there's this area that I've highlighted and circled in my terrible drawing skills of pink and whites, which is suggesting, to me at least, that there is some sort of intensification process that's continuing. Now, this is what Mike means. So there's an opening on the south. Let me get the drawing pencil out. On the southwestern quadrant, and this opening here of intensification could be what's hindering this storm from intensifying, because this area, if you go a little bit deeper, is actually still not closed. So what this does mean is that, for example, and what this does to these type of storms is that when dust gets into the storm and it gets to the eye, it actually starts protruding its intensification phase, because the hurricane itself is not necessarily organized to withstand the dust. So when you have these openings around the center of the storm, it really does limit and hinder the potential intensification phase. What I am confused about, and hopefully we'll get answers with the latest infrared scan, is whether or not we will be seeing this convective burst, as we call it, convective burst wrap around the storm. Because if it is wrapping around the storm, that's really bad for practically anywhere from, as I get previously mentioned, Puerto Escondido all the way up to Acapulco. Because if this storm is fully wrapped with convection, which it really has a limited amount of time for it to fully convect until it makes landfall. We're expecting landfall in about 7 to 8 hours. If the storm does continue to intensify the way that it is, and looking at the latest infrared frame here, it's actually looking like it could possibly be a sign of potential intensification down here. Basing it off of what we're seeing right now, if the storm continues to wrap around that area of white and pink, that could be a really bad indication for what things are to come. We still have 5 hours for this storm to intensify, and as we know here in the meteorological world, 5 hours can be the time between something that it maintains intensity to an explosive intensification phase. For example, it's bad to compare this storm to pretty much any other storm but Hurricane Otis. A lot of models were not expecting it to rapidly intensify the way it did, and it did. It intensified to 165, I believe. So, folks, understand, if you're watching this in Mexico, or if you're just watching in general and you know anybody in Mexico, you should let them know that this storm is coming, and this storm is intensifying. So, just let them know. We'll be taking questions throughout the stream, so if you do have any questions about the storm, the hurricane impacts, let us know and we'll be able to answer it. Anything else, Mike?
Yes, the most recent recon mission through the eye of the storm has revealed. I think this might have already been known, but the pressure has fallen down to 954, which compared to a few hours ago is like around a 23 millibar drop from just a few hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, barring the fact that if there's any potential eyewall replacement cycle, it does seem like it is continuing to intensify. I will say, you were talking about the convection around the storm, and I wanted to bring up the fact that on the latest scan of the convection, of the infrared of the storm, you can see a new convective tower beginning to form on the southeastern side of the eye, and I'm going to assume that's going to wrap around the eye, so it is definitely trying to intensify further. And I will honestly say, based on if there is a continued strengthening trend, I will say that Category 4 is possible.
I disagree. I believe that, looking at latest scan, still about 10 minutes old. They haven't updated it yet. Let me see if I can check the west. That's not even updated at all. This is about an hour old, so we're gonna have to go to Ghost East. But looking at the latest scan, it actually looks like if the convective band now south, which is beginning to convect, actually wraps around the eye, it looks like an eye wall replacement cycle might be imminent. So it's really dependent on what the scenario is and what things are looking like. But we have two people here who know what they're talking about. We're giving two different opinions, so it really is going to have to depend on what time has to say. Whether or not we see a Category 4 hurricane, I personally think that it's not going to happen, just purely because there is a very high likelihood that this storm's having an eye wall replacement cycle, just given the fact that the eye is shrinking so much. I believe the eye itself was actually more defined a few hours ago than it is now. And by latest observation, it looks like there's an area, a burst of convection just towards the south of the eye. I would say probably around 10 nautical miles from the south of the eye, from the center of the eye. Um, and that's typically cohesive with the idea of an eye wall replacement cycle happening. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see that. But that also could be a sign that this storm is trying to repel the eye wall replacement cycle and just trying to wrap itself up so it can give itself time to intensify. Either way, this storm is huge, like extremely huge, and this is producing rainfall already and tropical storm force gusts already by the coastlines of Oaxaca, going in towards Guerrero. And it should be noted that within the coming minutes, I would give it a coming hour. By about an hour from now, when we come back and we start talking about this again, cities like Puerto Escondido or Santos Reyes, Nopala or Tututepec, Tututepec, those areas could start seeing winds of tropical storm force gusts or tropical depression force gusts between 39 to 57 miles per hour. That's very possible with this system that we're looking at. Let's currently talk about positions and areas that we could see. Punta Maldonado, Mexico, 90 mile per hour gusts. We're expecting that from you. 5 to 7 feet of storm surge. Rainfall of 16 to 20 inches, folks. This is no joke. Puerto Escondido, you're right on the center of the map. 12 to 18 inches of rainfall, 6 to 8 feet of storm surge, and 75 plus mile per hour wind gusts. We didn't want to go with the 90 or 100 mile per hour wind gusts because at the time that the graphics were being made, we weren't thinking. We were thinking, and we're still under the impression that this possibly will not intensify as fast as some people, or as fast as the trajectory of what this morning was looking like. So, yeah, so 70 mile per hour wind gusts, 5 to 7 feet of storm surge, folks. This ain't no joke. And 16 to 20 feet of inches of rain. That is catastrophic. This is like tropical storm Imelda levels of rainfall. And if you don't know what tropical storm Imelda is, Imelda was a tropical storm that dumped 20 inches of rain over the Houston area, and it caused a lot of flooding. So, yeah. Folks,
I
go ahead.
sorry. I wanted to say that I going back to you disagreeing with me about it continuing to intensify. I agree in this. I agree if the storm is currently having an eye wall replacement cycle, I will agree with you that it will not make it to Category 4, and will probably maintain a Category 3 intensity. But if the storm is able to get its act together and able to clear out its eye, I believe it will maybe at least make it to low-end Category 4. Right now, if it finishes its if it's undergoing an eye wall replacement cycle right now, and finishes up, it will have basically no inhibitions to its strengthening further. There's low wind shear in the direction of the storm. There's basically very little wind shear at all. So that will prevent weakening, and also ample moisture and very warm waters of around 29 degrees Celsius. So basically barring that it's going to have an eye wall replacement cycle or currently having one, I feel like it could, like I said, I feel like it could make it to Category 4, low end Category 4.
I do want to point out, I do want to point out that the area that this storm is in, the Eastern Pacific in general has been the most underperforming in terms of sea surface temperatures in the globe right now, climatologically speaking. But the area that this storm is in, coincidentally, is in the area that's the warmest. So yeah, this is a very conflicting time. It's very interesting how the storm really started developing. It really started getting strong once it started increasing its size. So, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. But Tim Luong says it could hit Category 4, but last a short time uh,
As in
as
the forecast app,
as in the forecast
or
app. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't. I was having trouble. I mean, it could be a Category 4, but I mean, I'm trying to get the latest scan here, folks, because the scan's about 20 minutes old. Hopefully, it's updated. But I'm really starting to suspect that that eye wall is not performing in the way that um, intensifying hurricanes would. It's, I mean, it's not updating. Still back to 20 minutes. So, all right, folks. Questions, comments, or concerns, send them in the chat. We'll be here to answer them. And of
one
course,
thing.
go ahead.
Sorry, one thing I wanted to say. I know you said the rainfall totals already, but I want to repeat them. So the western and central coasts of Oaxaca will receive 12 to 16 inches, uh, possibly um, possibly over, depending if you're closer to the coast. But uh, the 12 to 16 inches translates also to 300 to 400 millimeters. I know some people, if there's anyone watching from Mexico, I don't believe they use inches there. So I just wanted to say the measurements for rainfall in millimeters too. But also, what the other thing that is not that wasn't said was how the risk for mudslides is very present. So um, there can definitely be some uh, deadly mudslides if you live along any steep areas near mountains, near hills. So that's something else to watch out for.
Yeah, and folks, I just want to quickly remind you to please share this stream out. We're trying to get the word out. There's not many channels that are live for this right now, so um, hopefully we can get you guys to. Hopefully we can get this stream shared. We're trying our best here, folks, to get as best coverage as we can perform. Um, so yeah, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Like, we do more than just hurricanes. We're pretty well known for earthquakes. So yeah, going on, moving further. Yeah, I mean this storm just has the this storm has everything going for it, and in fact, I would go ahead and make a claim that this storm will actually be more of a bigger flood threat than it will be storm surge or hurricane threat or wind threat. Um, and it's quite abundantly clear. 16 to 20 inches of rain is no joke. I would be quite concerned if I'm living in Mexico and if I'm a meteorologist in Mexico. My biggest worry would be where the rainfall will go, how much water would have already fallen within that area in the last month, because in some of these areas it rains every day. So when you have that add on 20 inches of rain, that makes the situation to scale even worse than what could have originally been a moderate event to now transform into a more disastrous event. So just understand that things are still developing in the things are still developing here. Um, it's still offshore, hot ocean for a bit more. There's warm ocean for a bit more time. Um, so it has a couple of hours until it makes landfall. The 1 a.m. position update, the National Hurricane Center has it peaking at 125 miles per hour. The current wind speeds on this storm is 120 miles per hour. The current sustained pressure is 953 millibars. So it looks like to me, unless they've updated it, no, the forecast discussion is still from 3 p.m. They are expecting 125 miles per hour still. So, Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
Um, I agree with you about the rainfall. Actually, one of the most deadly parts of any tropical cyclone, is the flooding risk. Usually flooding, actually, yeah, most of the time it's flooding that kills most of the people. The actual injury and deaths from winds is much lower compared to flooding. So I would say that you're right about that. The flooding is definitely more of a risk compared to any of the wind. So I would say to anyone who lives along a river or along the coast to, just stay wary of flooding and storm surge, uh, and to either evacuate if you haven't already, or to go to a building that is that has multiple levels. That way, you're not completely taken off guard by the flooding that will happen. So,
I do want to quickly say that flooding, the rainfall threat is bad by itself, but when you're living in an area as mountainous as Mexico, you also need to prepare for the possibility of mudslides. Um, and this happens when water starts flowing down from, or mud, obviously, starts flowing down from a mountain due to rainfall. Um, so, Mexico is under threat for a major event, major system. Um, Obviously, the rainfall and the winds will be more covered, but it's important to note that sorry, it's important to note that rain and flooding itself isn't the only threat, but the threat itself, the rain itself, can produce dozens of more threats: river flooding, flash flooding, mudslides, terrain slides, which is the same thing as a mudslide, but just get to higher ground if you see flash flooding. If there's a flash flood, I mean, I doubt they issue flash flood warnings. They actually don't. But if there is flash flooding, please get to the highest ground of your floor, highest floor of a building you can get. Um, Bring documents with you, personal documents with you, in case you have to get rescued. Um, this is no joke. These storms that have the slow moving capabilities, like such as this, have the history of causing tons of fatalities from the flooding and not the hurricane itself, not the winds itself. So, please, folks, um, I can't stress this enough. If you see flash flooding, get to higher ground. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Do not try to drive in a flooded roadway. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it to put yourself in jeopardy for what could be um, life or death if something goes wrong when you drive on that roadway. So please,
also, do keep in mind, number one, 6 inches of moving water is enough to sweep away a vehicle, or for the vehicle to be swept away by the water. So it does not take a huge amount of water to actually sweep away a vehicle. It's just 6 inches for your average car. And on top of that, do like David said, turn around, do not drown. Uh, a lot of times, what happens with flooding is the roadway gets eroded away, and there's nothing left of the road, and you can't even see that because the road has been, eroded away. So when you drive your car forward, you'll just the car will just sink into the floodwaters and be carried away. And at that point, you're pretty much, excuse me, but at that point you're pretty much dead, because it'll be very difficult to escape out of that situation. So, like David said, turn around, don't drown, just don't risk driving through any road that is flooded. Just try to take a different route, or just stay behind and try to keep safe that way.
Latest satellite scan just came out on WeatherWise, and it looks like the area of convection that we were talking about has kind of died down. We were talking about a very big, wide area of pinks and purples. Doesn't seem like that's happening anymore. However, it looks like the area of negative 70 to 80 degree cloud tops has fully wrapped itself around, which is not a good thing. That means that this storm could be actually developing a more stronger core as it develops throughout the evening. And that's not very good because that means two things. One, this storm could potentially be strengthening all the way to landfall. And two, what that could also mean is that this storm is going to potentially expand even further. So those areas of torrential rainfall will actually expand on itself. So please, I mean, you're seeing it here, folks. Please stay indoors. Do not go outdoors. Do not drive unless you absolutely have to. And even then, if you absolutely have to, I still wouldn't drive. If you need help, please contact your local authorities. Listen to your local authorities for instructions on how to, maintain calm during the storm. Yeah, I want to go ahead and point you towards Puerto Escondido in Oaxaca. This is just south of Santo Reyes, Nopala, and this is just towards the east of Tututepec. So this area now is now beginning to experience tropical storm force gusts and heavy torrential rainfall given this positioning with the satellite imagery. Now, I don't know if I can access radar. I doubt I can. No, I cannot. But I would be willing to bet you that this storm is actually producing heavy rainfall towards torrential rainfall in Puerto Escondido. Time will tell when it happens.
I do want to say Storm Spotter 227 left a comment that says, I'm seeing some lightning strikes in Hurricane Erick, meaning it's still strengthening. I would say if the lightning is happening within the eye wall, I say that definitely points to potential strengthening. I do want to say that the new convective burst I was talking about is trying to wrap itself around the eye. So maybe, like I said, maybe if that northwest part of the eye wall closes, it can continue to strengthen. Of course, there is limited time left over water before it makes landfall. I believe David said like 7 or 8 hours, so a lot can happen in 7 to 8 hours, but we'll see what happens.
Yes, and it just, to me, it's conflicting because satellite is, to me, at least on satellite, it looks like it's fully wrapped. It looks like it fully wrapped itself. At least with the inner eye wall. The outer eye wall seems to be, it looks like this opening that we were talking about earlier is now more limited to where it can intrude. And if anything will intrude, it'll probably be from this air pocket over here, where there's not much convection here. So yeah, folks, it looks fully, let's see, it looks fully wrapped, but we're just gonna have to tell. There are bursts down towards the southwest quadrant. Here, this is near the outer bands of the storm, or inner bands, because these are the ones that go in. Inner bands, you can see a little bit of bursting through here. But overall, the main activity and the main show is the center. Huge convective bursts, thunderstorm bursts. Near Campeche and La Yucatan, or near Quintana Roo, or Quintana Roo. And yeah, you can see just how convectively massive they are. Um, but yeah, that's all I got. Mike, anything else?
Uh, nope.
Well, we're gonna leave this time for questions for chat. Chat, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, send them in the chat and we'll be able to answer them, respond to them, or just give our opinions on whatever you're talking about. So, yeah. Storm Spotter 227 says that the eye is wobbling, and I would agree with you. I don't think I can go back to previous scans, but it did look for a bit, and at least through my eyes, it looks like, just through the still images, that the eye is wobbling a little bit, potentially shrinking, which could be an indicator of convective replacement. So eyewall replacement cycle, essentially, in essence. And remember, folks, the peak for the Eastern Pacific, climatologically speaking, is around August and September. So, yeah, that's interesting. Mike, can you take over commentary for a little bit?
Yeah.
Alright,
one thing I do want to state is I believe the new scans came in, the new infrared scans came in, or scan came in for Erick, and it still looks like the northwest portion of the eye wall, of the inner eye wall, is still open. Obviously a strengthening tropical cyclone needs that eye wall to be fully closed so it'll be able to rapidly intensify. A open eye wall means that the storm will either maintain its intensity or will might start to weaken a little bit. We'll see how that plays out. The better infrared imagery that is used to tell whether or not an eye wall replacement cycle is happening or whether an inner eye wall is completely closed, that came in too, and it actually got the center of the storm. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like the scan came in very well, because everything seems very blurry. It's hard to tell. I believe maybe the eye wall could be closed a little. There's a better signal for it on the eastern side, but the western side is very blurry. The resolution is not very high, so I can't tell whether or not that is completely closed. But judging based on how its appearance also looks like on just normal visible satellite, or I'm sorry, infrared, it looks like this storm is struggling to continue to intensify. I'm not entirely sure if it is still rapidly intensifying, honestly. It definitely wants to. It definitely wants to, and we'll see how that convective tower, if it's able to wrap fully around the eye, and see how if it'll close off that portion of the inner eye wall that is open. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But let's see what else. Some parts of land may be about to enter the 50 knot wind gust range, which I believe, like I said, is 57 miles per hour. So mid-range tropical storm force winds may be arriving on land soon, or if it hasn't already. Yeah, honestly, the storm looked a lot better an hour or two ago. Uh, we'll see how that goes, but let's see what else. I just got a tornado warning on my phone. Okay. I apologize for the interruption, but I will have to also take a leave for temporarily. So sorry about that, but I will have to. All right. Thank you. I'll be right back.
Well, as you heard, folks, our correspondent Mike just took a tornado warning for his generalized area. That's rare. I don't think we've had a time where something like that happened. Huh. Interesting, though. Well, anyways, folks, I've been looking at different, through my different tab. I've been looking at radar, at the satellite imagery, and it does look like to me that the storm is beginning to enter a period of intensification, or a period of perhaps wrapping around the storm. And what that will mean, for sure, what this means is that there's a more stable core, which means that it's more likely to be less susceptible towards dry air intrusions, which is a significant concern with any strong hurricane. If a hurricane wants to maintain itself as a strong tropical system, it needs to pay attention to what the it needs to have a strong inner core, and that's how you maintain dry air intrusions out of your spot. So that's that's all that there needs to be said. We're going to take a quick break as the team, and we'll be right back. This is a Disaster Central special report. My name is David Vela, reporting in from our headquarters in Houston, Texas. An important announcement will follow in regards to the current situation. Due to the rapid intensification phase of Hurricane Erick, Disaster Central has suspended all regular operations and programming to cover this event. Stay tuned, as coverage will be transmitted after this announcement. In the meantime, you can check out our Twitter at x.com/disastercentral, which is on screen right now. Due to the severity of the situation and the potential severity of the impacts towards Mexico, in particular the states of Oaxaca and Guerrero, the Disaster Central head has decided to suspend all regular programming to take you to red mode coverage, which will continue until 9:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. In the meantime, you can follow our Twitter at DisasterCentral, or you can just look at, search up the link on the screen, on the bottom side of your screen, https://x.com/disastercentral, and that is an E instead of an A. This has been a Disaster Central announcement. We'll be back with your regularly scheduled live coverage programming as soon as possible. Stand by. This is Disaster Central's Red Mode coverage. We are on break, dealing with the situation with one of our contributors. We are attempting to make sure that he is safe as the tornado warning that he's in progresses. Disaster Central will continue our coverage right after we can figure out whether or not our contributor will be okay. In the meantime, you are watching an automated stream, a automated feed of the Disaster Central live coverage. We will have you the full commentary set that you need right after this. Stand by. just want to reiterate for those who are tuning in, we are tracking and covering Major Hurricane Erick. As you can see, winds of 120 miles per hour, sustained pressure of 953 millibars, currently moving towards the northwest at 9 miles per hour. Currently, it is a Category 3, which makes it a major hurricane. And for those who are continuing to tune in, we do have people tuning in from across the world. You are watching our red mode coverage of Hurricane Erick. If you're new here, we do cover major natural disasters, and if you're into that, then you're in the right place. Anybody watching from Mexico or near the Eastern Pacific, let us know where you're watching from, and we'll be able to, talk to you for a little bit. And of course, if you're finding this stream useful, although we're not really commentating right now, we're going through a situation. If you are if you do find the graphics or the satellite presentation helpful, you make sure you subscribe to Disaster Central for all the updates that we can provide live during major disasters. This continues to be a special report. We'll be live until 9:30 p.m. tonight to give you the best possible coverage. And by the way, Chosen One, I'm sorry. Apologies for that. For the Nightbot, I have to fix that thing really quickly. So Napoleon is asking, are there any live cams of the storm anywhere? Unfortunately, because of the area that this is hitting, there's not many live cams that we can access. Earthcam had a camera near Puerto Escondido, but that went down ultimately. That went down about last night at around 2 in the morning. And if you're wondering if there are any live cams on YouTube where we could access, there is no live cams for us to access. So apologies for that. But let us know where you're watching from, folks. We'll be happy to take in and talk to you directly to the viewer about whatever you want to talk about with this storm. Looking at current satellite presentation, satellite right now is really, this is about 20 minutes old. Let's see if we can get a new scan from the 9:30 p.m. update, and hopefully it looks like we won't. That's funny. But satellite presentation looks decent. If you're looking for the storm projected path, here it is. Let me go ahead and get rid of that satellite. This is the current projection cone. It's off right now. The graphics are being made to change this radar, but we're working with a very small team, so please give us time. The current projected forecast, according to the National Hurricane Center, is 125 miles per hour with gusts of 155 miles per hour. So this is Category 3 sustained with Category 4 near Category 5 gusts. And then over time, as it heads into Oaxaca and into Guerrero, once it passes around Ometepec, we expect this to dissipate over. We're expecting this to weaken to around 60 miles per hour by the time it gets north of Ometepec, and then once it passes towards Chilpancingo, we expect this to dissipate over the mountainous lands of Guerrero, Morelos, and Michoacan. Apologies for the voice crack, folks. Satellite cover time it is. Yes, it is satellite. Napoleon says that he doesn't know much about the weather. Well, that's okay. That's what we're here for. We know the weather. We know what we can help you with. are hurricanes south of West Mexico common? Yes, they are. If you didn't know, there's an area, there's multiple basins that do hurricanes. You might be more familiar with the hurricanes that happen in the Atlantic and in the Gulf Coast. That's called the North Atlantic. And the North Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th. Well, the area that we're in here is the Eastern Pacific hurricane season, and we're in the Eastern Pacific, as you can see. And this basin runs from May 15th towards November 30th, so earlier. Their peak is earlier too. Their peak is around early September into mid-November. Ours is mid-November to early October, mid-September to early October, and ours lasts much shorter. So that's what you need to know about that, Napoleon. Storm Spotter 227 says that it looks to be 56 miles offshore. Yes. From the closest perimeter or proximity, which would be near the International Highway of 200, International, I guess, Interstate 200 in our terms, Interstate 200. And then as it crosses by and it splits into 200 and then I believe 175. Going further south here near Puerto Escondido, and pretty much, let me draw this really quickly. You're looking at satellite. I want to point this out in case you don't know what a satellite, what we're seeing through satellite. This area right here is experiencing really bad weather, tropical storm force gusts. In fact, there was just a report that came in about a few minutes ago from Puerto Escondido, claiming that there was a wind gust of at least, and please bear in mind, this is with a grain of salt, but wind gust of 72.8 miles per hour. Sorry about that. So that's in your category 1 force winds or gusts. The current sustained winds are at 40 miles per hour, so we're already having at sustained tropical storm force winds. Near Santa Maria Huatulco, there was a gust a few hours ago of 64 miles per hour with a currently sustained winds of 36 miles per hour. And that area is continuing to see developing trends of deteriorating conditions as it gets further and further closer to the system itself. Looking at Rio Grande, this is much closer to the cone of uncertainty because we have a pretty clear consensus of what the cone will look like, or where this landfall will happen at. Rio Grande looks like you're beginning to see a bit of that weather deteriorating over time, and that's probably going to happen as time continues. We're expecting a peak of 125 miles per hour, so just 5 miles per hour more than what we currently have according to the National Hurricane Center. And I believe you're here joined by a new fellow. I think it's Arctic. Hello, Arctic. So what are your current thoughts on the storm? Yeah, so, I mean, we were just talking about this earlier in the stream. Yeah, it looks like it's beginning to, although the eye is beginning to close up a little bit. I don't know if you've seen on latest satellite. Storm Spotter 227 says that the hurricane is wobbling towards the northwest slightly. It looks like that's happening, and with confirmation from another team member, it looks like that is actually happening. Apologies. It's just interesting to see how Erick really formed. Erick was this huge. I think it was a Central American gyre. That is the reason why I made it so huge as a storm. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think this might be the easternmost major hurricane landfall in the East Pac ever. Or perhaps yeah, I mean the storm's already broken records. If you want to compare a storm, you would probably have to go back to pre 1950s, and there wasn't much good data then. I do have breaking news. Satellite guidance is now supportive of a Category 4. Now, of course, this is satellite estimates, so take these with a grain of salt, but it looks like, according to satellite guidance, it could be a Category 4. Now, the recon flight just got a 954 millibar pass on its first pass, so there's a lot. I think that was a while ago. About an hour ago. I think it was about an hour ago. Yep, it looks like the eye is warming up, and wrapping is practically complete, or almost complete. My radar is just not updating. I don't know why. Stand by while I turn off the screen share, and then once you have it bookmarked, or once you have it, send it. Send this. Does it have satellite? Oh, okay. Let me let's go. Where is okay, I might actually just okay. So I have a faster, much more presentable satellite because the other one just was not updating for the life of itself. So we are back at it, but with a much better satellite to work with. And hopefully it stays like that. There it is. So you can see here, I mean, it's quite close, but let's see if I can. Could I? What did I just do? It's fine. You can see it on the farther. No, it's not. Whoa. Hello? Oh my gosh. This satellite presentation is actually like weird. Okay. And now it's too far. That might be it. Go up. There it is. Screen's uneven, but we're working with it. Trying our best we can to work with it. There we go. Sorry, folks, for the huge technical mishaps on my end. So yeah, we're back, folks, with continuing coverage. We will be live until 9:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and if I'm awake or if anyone wants to stream the Landfall in this team, then hopefully they will. But yeah. If you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, send them in the chat. We'll be here to answer them for you. Here's the stats on Major Hurricane Erick, which has gone what I would argue as dangerous. Well, I mean, it is dangerous, but what I would argue is a worrying intensification phase of Major Hurricane Erick. 120 miles per hour, this is what we do know. Around 12 hours ago, we were talking about, I think, 65 mile per hour. 65, 70 miles per hour. So now it went from tropical storm to category 3. Current pressure, according to the National Hurricane Center's 7 p.m. update guidance, says that it's at 953 millibars, currently moving towards the northwest at 9 miles per hour, and then the coordinates, as of the last tracked position, were at 14.9 degrees north and 96.7 degrees west. And the next update should happen at around 11 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Rainfall, again, with this storm will be very dangerous. Rainfall will be the biggest threat with this system. Generally speaking, it will be the biggest threat with this system. Rainfall rates of up to 18 inches plus the 6 inches that have already fallen from yesterday in some locations means that 2 feet of rain could fall within 3 days, including yesterday. So, 2 feet of rain, sorry. I don't know what I was doing saying 3 feet. In addition to that, another worrying sign is storm surge. Storm surge will be potentially a bigger issue than people expect. This part of the coastline in Oaxaca and Guerrero tends to be more, brain lag. This area tends to be more flat in terrain, which means that any storm surge that gets up there plus rainfall will be a equation for disaster. So storm surge of up to 7 to 10 feet of storm surge, very possible in isolated locations. Generally speaking, we're expecting anywhere from 5 to 7 feet of storm surge, with some areas seeing more, some localized regions seeing less. But the rainfall threat, 16 to 20 inches of rain still expected for some of these areas. Like, for example, Puerto Escondido, we've been talking about you for the last hour. It looks like... Wow, sorry. It's looking like the system is just... Sorry, reading comment. The storm just looks like it's intensifying, and you can see, whoa. Wait, are you seeing what I'm seeing on that satellite, Arctic? That's no, just go on clean infrared. Oh my god, it's actually wrapping in like full pink. That's not good. Oh my god. Okay. We'll be taking your questions now. This storm looks like it's beginning to intensify. Um, the storm looks like it's beginning to intensify quite severely. Um, Flash flooding again will be a severe threat as time continues. And folks, it's important to pay attention to what the system could do because it looks like it's beginning to wrap itself around huge, deep layering convection, which in simple terms means that this is pretty much getting overblown with strong, thundering thunderstorms um, that could make this storm intensify. Um, so please, uh, please understand, folks, that this storm really has nothing else to do. This has nowhere else to go. Um, it seems like this storm really has nowhere else to go. There's model consensus data that pretty much, and consensus data is what we use to get a average, by the way. Um, they are saying that this has a 84% chance of rapid intensification within the next 6 hours, and that was on the ship's model. And it looks like we're beginning to see that happening, and that's not a good sign because if you're watching from Mexico in Oaxaca or in Guerrero, in Puerto Escondido or in Veracruz or in Acapulco, these storms will be heading towards you at a more rapid rate. You'll be getting much more severe impacts, and it's just important to listen to your local authorities, folks. Please do not go outdoors. We have this saying here in the States that if thunder roars, stay indoors. Um, and if it's flooding and you have to drive, just don't drive um, in flooded roadways. Remember, turn around, don't drown. That's the best advice we can give you as at this point. It is far too late for you to even attempt to evacuate, so you're going to have to hunker down, folks, and we'll be here to cover it every step of the way. We are entering around if you do have any questions, folks, please do not be afraid to ask. Um, Napoleon asks, is the pink on satellite bad? Yes. Well, it's concerning to say the least. For tropical cyclones, huge bursts of convection, which is what you see in the pinks, that means that it's intensifying. And it actually could be intensifying at a much quicker rate than what we were expecting, which is not a good thing. So to answer your question, Napoleon, the answer is yes. The pinks on satellite indicates that this storm is intensifying, and in fact, I would go on to say even further now that this storm has pretty much solidified itself in the intensification phase. So the next 4 hours before landfall will be crucial to the development of these, to pretty much the verdict of whether or not this will actually be catastrophic in terms of wind speeds and storm surge. We are expecting for the best, and I hope that you're praying for the best, but we have to be prepared for the worst, folks. These are the type of storms that, we can't play around with. This is the worst case scenario, especially for the hurricane season being so early in June in the Eastern Pacific. This storm has already broken records for being the earliest major hurricane landfall in Eastern Pacific history. And and this could potentially intensify to a category 4 if the rapid intensification begins of this storm. So, folks, you have to pay attention to this now. If you're watching in Mexico, you have to be paying attention to your local authorities, folks. This is no joke. This is the real deal. This is what I would say the worst case scenario for these areas. So yeah, folks, please stay prepared. Do not go outdoors. As I said this before, I cannot stress this enough. If you see flooded roadways, don't drive. Do not drive at all. Do not drive unless it is absolutely necessary. And if you are driving and you see flooded roadways, do not, absolutely do not, drive through them. You would be jeopardizing your life. You would be putting your life at risk. It takes 6 inches of water to start taking a car over. And we could be talking 8 to 12 times the amount of what I just mentioned. 6 inches. We could be talking about 6 to 12 feet of storm surge, and in some cases 2 feet of rainwater in a complement with that. So, hello, Mike. Whoa. So you missed a lot. This storm is beginning to wrap itself in a core of negative 85, 80 to negative 90 degree cloud tops. We have about 30 minutes of coverage left. Folks, if you're watching this in Mexico, you have to be prepared. You have to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. That's what I would say. I think that's what anybody would say under this position. You have to be prepared because these type of events, as I previously mentioned, this storm, major Hurricane Erick, I would say is the worst case scenario for the Eastern Pacific right now in June, so early on. In fact, it's so early that climatologically speaking, we should really only be by 3 named storms, and we're double that so far in the Eastern Pacific. So, it's concerning. I would be concerned, but we got you covered, folks. Our team is ready to give you instructions whenever needed. We're going to take a quick break here, folks. I've been going at it for about an hour 25, so I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Oh, wait, I have to do this real quick. This is a Disaster Central special report. All regular programming has been suspended to provide you this coverage. Please pay attention as the announcement will be read out. This is a quick update for those who have been sticking around for the last hour and 30 minutes. As an important reminder, due to the rapid intensification of Hurricane Erick, Disaster Central has suspended all regular operations and programming to cover this event. Please stay tuned to this channel as we will be transmitting live coverage right after this announcement. In the meantime, you can check our Twitter at https://x.com/disastercentral with an E instead of an A. Or you could just type the website on the screen. Disaster Central will continue their special report for about 30 more minutes. We will continue to provide you updates as they become available. Stand by for a transmission and a transition to coverage. This is a Disaster Central special report. My name is David Vela, reporting in from our headquarters in Houston, Texas. Continuing live coverage of what now is Major Hurricane Erick, with winds of 120 miles per hour and a sustained pressure of 953 millibars. The current positioning is 14.9 degrees north or 96.7 degrees west. It is a Category 3, making it a major hurricane. And it is currently moving towards the northwest at 9 miles per hour. Hurricane Erick will be a massive rainfall threat and water threat overall, as storm surge levels are forecasted to be at 5 to 7 feet in a generalized area, with some spots seeing a little bit more than that and a lot of regions seeing a little bit less than that. Please stand by for our Disaster Central special report as we continue. Again, my name is David Vela, and I'm joined by Arctic and Mike. How are we doing?
Good.
Well, folks, we are entering our last stretch of coverage. We have a lot to do. We have a lot to cover. So let's just start off with what presentation looks like on satellite. So looking at satellite, you can see that huge storm, Major Hurricane Erick. That's it's a huge storm. Convection continuing to blow up on the inflow and the outflow bands, and huge convections beginning to blow up around the eye. Massive negative 80 to negative 90 degree temperature Celsius cloud tops over the center. I mean, it looks like to me this is beginning to intensify. I mean, does it not, Mike or Arctic?
Yeah, it looks like it could push for Cat 4, low end Cat 4.
Right, and this is what I would say is the worst case scenario. Again, I've already said this multiple times, but just to stress this and emphasize it again, this is the worst case scenario, and undoubtedly a scenario that nobody wanted to deal with. Uh, it's worrying, to say the least. It's concerning how far how far this storm intensified over the last 24 hours. And folks, this storm is no joke. This storm has had the history of intensifying extremely fast, as you just seen in the last 12 hours, and this storm could potentially push Category 4 now. Um, Anybody else want to say anything?
Uh,
Not really.
yeah, I mean, the presentation of the storm certainly has improved in the last hour or so. Um, yeah, very cold convective towers are wrapping fully around the eye. That will probably close off anything that remained open in the eye wall and the inner eye wall. And I don't believe it will I don't believe it will intensify further than 130. In my opinion, I believe if it does get upgraded to CAF 4, it'll be at 130. I don't believe it'll go past 130. Maybe in postseason analysis they'll re-rate it like 140 or something. But for now, I think it'll just if it gets upgraded, it'll be at 130.
Yeah, and the system just again horrible in every way. Again, folks, Acapulco. Um, Sorry. Uh, Acapulco, Puerto Escondido, Tututepec, Ometepec. Uh, Again, los states of Oaxaca, Guerrero. I mean, you have to brace yourself, because I mean, just generally speaking, if you're again in Oaxaca,
Jerry asked if it will be making landfall near Acapulco. Um, Pretty near, but not near enough for Acapulco to get the worst winds.
yeah.
So
So
it's pretty close, but not they're not gonna get the worst of the winds, luckily.
yeah, so Jerry, as you can see on the satellite cone that we have you presented up here, um, current cone says that it won't. It's actually expected to make landfall somewhere between Tututepec and Punta Maldonado, which is the area that we are expecting to see the worst of the storm surge impacts. And as it goes further on, I mean, if you're in Acapulco, you'll probably see tropical storm force winds. You could possibly see heavy rainfall. That's going to be a huge threat. I think the National Hurricane Center international rainfall forecast has it at, I think, 6 to 12 inches of rain, or 12 to 16, around there. We have you, I think, at I think we have you at 16 to 20 inches. No, we have you at 12 to 16 inches. Apologies for that. And storm surge probably not going to happen. If anything, based on where the current trajectory is at, if anything, we could see an inland storm surge from the Laguna Tres Palos, where because of the motion of the thunderstorm, it pushes water from one side towards the other.
Hurricane.
Huh?
The motion of the hurricane,
Yeah,
not the
the motion.
thunderstorm.
Yeah, sorry. I'm still thinking I'm severe weather mode. The motion of the hurricane. So, like, if you're in, like, San Pedro Las Playas or in 10 de Abril, or anywhere between Tres Palos, the airport, General Juan Alvarez International Airport, please brace yourself because of the motion of this storm. You could see some inland flooding, and you could see some inland flooding if you're by the river too. I
The
think.
good thing I want to say
Mhm.
is that Acapulco will probably not get any storm surge because the way it's going to impact the way it's going to brush by Acapulco, the motion of the wind in the hurricane will actually push out the water, so there will be no storm surge. In fact, the water will probably be sucked out. So that's good for Acapulco, because Acapulco is, as Jerry also said, is still reeling from the horrific impact that Hurricane Otis caused in, I believe, 2023.
Yeah.
So
So Jerry, I mean, apart from tropical storm force wind gusts, which seems like a very definite possibility, there's not much threats apart from the rainfall. Rainfall will be um, the biggest concern, but that's with much of these thunderstorms nowadays. So rainfall um,
I
and
think
wind
Acapulco
gusts.
could also get, yeah, I was gonna say, I think Acapulco could still get some damaging wind gusts, probably like around hurricane force, maybe a little bit over.
Mhm. Yeah, of course. So yeah, to answer your question, Jerry, um, we're expecting minor impacts overall in terms of winds and storm surge. I think for storm surge we have you at 1 to 3 feet, because at the time where we were making these graphics, it looked like the cone was going to shift more towards the west, but it hasn't. So we could actually just not see storm surge at all. Um, so yeah, that should answer your question. The biggest threat for you will be rainfall. So just remember the basics. Turn around. Don't drown. Don't drive in flooded roadways. Roadways. If there's flooding in your area, get to higher ground. Um, so yeah, that should answer your question. Hopefully this helped.
Jerry says he was there during, he was there in Acapulco last, during Otis, and he says it was horrendous.
Yeah, so sorry to hear that, Jerry. I know Otis was a horrible storm. We were covering it. I think that was our first Disaster Central stream as Disaster Central 2, Mike, wasn't it?
I
Um,
believe so.
it was terrifying to see how Otis went from a tropical storm to a Cat 5 in 24 hours. I think that was the first time since Wilma that something like that had ever happened. Um, and I think Wilma at the time was a Category 1 when the explosive intensification began. So, yeah, this will not be, believe me, trust me, this will not be no Otis. This will not be another Otis. Just, again, in general, minor impacts, heavy rainfall, but that should be about it.
Uh, let's see. I think I've read that the new advisory for Otis, or not, I'm sorry, Eric should be coming soon from what I heard, but I don't know how soon.
So we're pushing our last 10 minutes of coverage on Eric. Um, so just want to quickly summarize you what the main points are, and this is really what you need to know. Uh, so as of the latest advisory, it currently has winds of 120 miles per hour, pressure of 953 millibars, currently moving towards the northwest at 3 miles per hour. It's currently a Category 3, now a major hurricane, and this is what you need to know. Eric poses an extreme water threat with forecast storm surge levels of up to 5 to 7 feet in general areas, though some localized areas could see higher totals. Rainfall and flash flooding is also becoming a life threatening risk as the system approaches land. Um, and of course, we'll be here to cover. Hopefully, we'll be here to cover it during the aftermath. I think the storm is expected to make landfall around 2 to 3 a.m., 3 to 4 a.m., around that time. So um, that's all you really need to know about Eric as we
Storm
speak.
Spotter, Storm Spotter 227 says that the latest uh, NOAA pressure is down to 950 millibars. He says he's following the NOAA hurricane plane now. Um, so 953 or 954 down to 950, yeah, suggests further strengthening. Yeah, I believe it could be on the cusp of, if not already, a category low in category 4. Honestly, we'll have to see with the new advisory.
All right, so as we close off this stream, we still, it's important to know, folks, that again, as I previously stated, Erick poses an extreme water threat. Severe storm surge levels are expected. Life-threatening flash flooding of up to 16 to 20 inches of rain very likely happening in areas like, for example, Puerto Escondido, or in Ometepec, or in Tututepec, sorry. Again, cities like Chichihualco, or Chilpancingo, Ciudad Altamirano, or Iguala, or Taxco. Those areas will see tons of rain. So that's all you really need to know about this storm. Anyone else wants to say that? Anything?
Yeah, that's about it.
Well, we're going to take the last 7 minutes to answer your questions, comments, or concerns.
Jerry says the NOAA flight actually had to be canceled because, according to the Weather Channel, they said the plane couldn't make it through the eye because it was too violent.
I think that might have to do because a lot of these planes are pretty old. I don't think NOAA's gotten new planes since the 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was... Okay, so that's concerning. That's not good. Folks, make sure you are... If you found this coverage helpful, make sure you subscribe. We do a lot more coverage. We do earthquakes, hurricanes, as you can see. We did severe weather last stream. And hopefully we hope to cover more. We hope that you found this coverage helpful. And if you did, subscribe. Turn on the bell notifications, like the stream. And yeah, we're going to leave this up for y'all's time to ask questions. And if the team wants to say anything before we end, then I would advise that happens in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, make sure to subscribe to Disaster Central. Follow our Twitter, follow our Instagram.
I have the Twitter linked. I don't have the Instagram linked, so.
Oh, okay. I can get the Instagram. We, like David said, we cover multiple disasters. We cover hurricanes, earthquakes, severe weather, tornadoes.
Pretty much a lot of major disasters. If it's major, and someone's awake to go, if I'm awake to go live for it, then we'll go live. So that's what we do. So yeah, this has been a Disaster Central special report. My name is David Vela, reporting in from Houston, Texas, joined by our team members, Mike and Arctic. Mike, you've had one, I would say, important day, I would say. Tornado warning in the middle of a stream. That's something.
Yeah.
Of course, folks, if you're watching, Major Hurricane Erick to make landfall as a Category 3 or Category 4. If anything does happen, or if the National Hurricane Center comes up with their emergency feed update and we see that it's upgraded to a Category 4, we'll go live for that for a bit. But until then, this has been a Disaster Central special report. My name is David Vela, reporting in from Houston, Texas, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye guys, take care.